Dramatic slump in overseas tourists coming to Ireland for the summer. Some frightening figures for the month of June. But we're going to start with the swine flu. The Department of Health is having its weekly human swine flu briefing update in government buildings at present. But a lot of people are asking questions about where does this vaccine stand? When are we going to get it in Ireland? Who's going to get it? How useful will it be? Dr. h1n1 from the Irish Times, its medical editor, is with us. Hello to you, Murish.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Very good. Tell us, what is the latest? When will we be getting this vaccine, and what vaccine?
Well, I think the earliest that we'll actually see it in the country is October, and it may even slip beyond that. Hopefully it won't. It's a huge logistical exercise. One company today has announced that it's completed its first commercial batches of the h1n1 vaccine, and I'm sure others. There are about big three vaccine manufacturers in the world, and I'd imagine they'll be fairly close behind. So that's good news. But they've still got to get through a major hurdle, which is to make sure that they're safe, and in particular to satisfy drug regulatory authorities across Europe.
Yeah, exactly how does the vaccine work?
The vaccine works by initiating a mild attack of the flu. So literally what you're doing is you're stimulating the immune system, but at a sufficiently low response that it doesn't cause the full-blown flu, but it causes the body's immune system to manufacture certain cells in the blood that, if in the weeks after that the real virus was to come into your system, it'll literally be gobbled up before it has a chance to make you feel unwell. Is
there a danger that the vaccine, if it isn't properly tested, could actually have serious side effects that could be as bad as the actual human swine flu itself?
There's always the possibility. I mean, it is a form of medication. It's a form of, altering the body's normal response. So that risk, exists with everything, and I suppose even exists with something as simple as taking a Panadol. But in this case, we are told that the potential for this pandemic is quite serious, in particular the potential for it to mutate into something a lot more deadly than it is at the moment. So I would expect there might be some element of fast-tracking approval of it, given that that's the background against which it's required.
Okay, so even if they get the approval, how quickly will it be possible to manufacture the stuff and then ship it to all the countries that are looking for it, given that there's likely to be vast numbers looking for it?
Yeah, well, the HSE here has contracted to provide 7.7 million doses, but instantly that contract is over a period of between 6 and 12 months. So that's an acknowledgement that, manufacturing capacity is finite, and as you say, with a worldwide demand, it's not like we're all going to be able to get the vaccination within, say, a 3 or 4 week period. It's much more likely to be over a much longer period of time, and it is likely that the first people to be vaccinated will be in the higher risk groups. We know that pregnant women, we know that younger people seem to be more prone to this. Healthcare workers, I suppose, not unreasonably, will be among the first to receive the vaccine. And, by the time it's finally rolled out, it could clearly take up to a year.
Given that it's said that older people seem to have some sort of immunity, and given what's been happening around the world, they haven't been dying as a result of it, would that suggest that rather than the traditional way of always going for older people first for the winter flu vaccines, that in this case maybe you should be going into the schools? The Department of Health should be organising first the school children at primary and secondary level get the first shots.
I think you're spot on there, and I think, that'll be a major change from what we're normally used to, the over 65s we've always targeted. But again, in terms of looking at the risk of this, they're clearly the group, with this pandemic, this h1n1 version of the flu, who are having, the least problems with it. So actually, yes, I think we will see perhaps the over 65s being at the very end of the queue, which would be, a complete juxtaposition with what happens with the usual seasonal shot.
If this vaccination is introduced, and there's lots of people texting in who are worried about the idea of taking a vaccination before it's fully tested, and I think if it's available in October they feel it won't have been fully tested. Is there anything like in the way the vaccinations go for things like mumps and measles, that unless everybody has it, it won't work, that you need the herd immunity rather than just some people having it and other people not having it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the WHO have come out and said that. I mean, you just have to have large quantities and a large take-up to have the greatest impact.
So everyone will have to get it if this vaccine comes in. It would be better if everybody took it rather than opting out.
It would be, in terms of the greater good. Clearly, it's not going to be compulsory, and anyone with strong objections will not be forced to have it. But in terms of the maximum effect and the maximum preventive effect, you are looking at uptake rates in excess of 85% in order to achieve that herd effect that you refer to.
And one final point, because a number of people are just texting in now at the moment about this. They're worried in particular about pregnant women being the first to get the vaccination, because their view is, how could it be known if it's safe on a fetus?
Well, that's a very, very reasonable concern, and I think that'll be something that the regulatory authorities, the European Medicines Association and our own Irish Medicines Board are going to have to look at really, really hard. As you're aware, normally, doctors and do not recommend treatment unless it's absolutely necessary in women who are pregnant. And particularly we would be concerned about the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, the first trimester. But on the other side of the coin, there is the concern that pregnant women seem to be getting a lot of the complications of this flu. So ultimately it'll be a kind of a risk-reward calculation that will have to be made by people who are experiencing this kind of thing, and to come out and say, well, these are the potential benefits, these are the potential risks, and obviously to ultimately decide whether they are going to give it a license. But I think it'll be important, if they do license it for pregnant women, that they make it very clear in easily understood terms what the risks are versus what the benefits are.
Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Murray Houston, medical editor of the Irish Times. We'll take the traffic now with Louise Duffy.
Today FM Traffic and Travel with Carlton Hotels. 8 great